but it does or could mean that you're moving from a particular place versus another particular place, meaning negative fuel source or more sustainable fuel source or positive fuel source. Mm-hmm. And so that shit for me is actually very recent. And
so you recently let go of the negative fuel source and replaced it with
that identity shift or that existential angst. That's where I was going with it. Became a negative fuel source that for me literally carried me the probably from that moment, let's say at 18-ish, when I started to feel that existential angst, and then I felt it really deeply at like 21 when I was graduating university, and 22, 23 when I started the farm at 23. That was like the peak of my existential angst, and it kind of continued for a while, but that negative fuel source continued basically all the way until like a year ago, where or 2 years ago.
Negative fuel source.
What I mean by that is I was motivated by anger. I wasn't building the paradise. I was building the anti-system. I was building the revolution, not the place where we can go and like find abundance and love. The place that would be abundant and have love, but wasn't being built from that place. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that transformation of this negative fuel source, meaning let me show you, right? That let me show you energy, or that I can do it better energy, or that this is wrong and I am right energy, that holier than thou energy, all of those things had a purpose in my journey, but it was unsustainable. Although the entire project and farm and everything about it was about sustainability, was about community, sustainability, knowledge. And it was originally focused on communities or sustainability, community, knowledge, and action. Those are our 4 core values that started Valhalla, which is the name of the farm. And that shifted and changed over time, but it only happened, for me, it happened through observing nature. For me, it happened through heartache. It happened through meeting people who were just smarter than me, and meeting people who were experiencing life in a much easier state than I was. Even though I was incredibly successful in all kinds of, and now, I don't want to say everything, but in a lot of things, I was still struggling. And the entire time I was like living this martyr identity where it's like, I'm going to build the new world that's possible in my heart by sacrificing my world. By sacrificing who I am, my happiness, this, that, the other, whatever it is. I'm going to use my resources to build the fucking better thing. And that's beautiful. It's inspiring. A lot of people see that and see inspiration because they're coming from a negative fuel source too, so they understand that inspiration. But actually, when you start talking like in other language, like when you're like, oh no, my life is super abundant, I'm super happy, they don't relate anymore. I was more popular. I could be more popular. That's a better way of saying it. I could be more popular if I spoke more from the negative fuel source. And just like, hey, this is what you could do. You feel this way? You feel like shit? Great. Don't feel like shit. Fuck the man. And I did that. If I moved from that place and I spoke from that place, I would have more views.
Negative fuel source. I love that word. Yeah. I'm just going to put that out there.
Great.
Do you feel like 90% of the world is negative fuel source?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 90% of our cars are a negative fuel source.
Yeah.
So
is that not what drives consumerism? Is the want. And isn't want a lack of something and therefore a negative fuel source?
I mean, look, there are things that we need and there are things that we want. And I think there's healthy wants. There's also healthy needs. But where that falls and how that falls and why you're doing something, I think changes the energy behind it and therefore whether it's positive or negative. Because I truly believe that you can eat bacon and still be totally aligned and still be an amazing person. And you can also not eat bacon and be totally aligned and be an amazing person. 100%. And I don't think it makes you a better or worse person that you made a specific choice, but it does or could mean that you're moving from a particular place versus another particular place, meaning negative fuel source or more sustainable fuel source or positive fuel source. And so that shit for me is actually very recent. And
so you recently let go of the negative fuel source and replaced it with?
Love, intimacy, unconditional love is a better way of saying it. But intimacy is at this moment is the number one thing that changed that. Community has always been my guiding, like my guardrails. Like if there's were bowling, and if I had those gutter rail, gutter guards or whatever, community has always been the thing that has kind of steered me right. And I was just lucky enough to have invested in that in every way.